Welcome back to term 4 and to Monday's lesson. So today I'm going to start you off with this starter to warm our brains up after our week off, okay? So let's have a look at how to do this pyramid at the top first, and then you're going to have a go at the other two pyramids, okay? So we're going to be mainly using addition for this one. So we're going to see, we've got two bricks next to each other, and we're going to add those together. So we have 10, add 20, gives me 30. So I'm going to put 30 in the brick above that overlaps them both. Okay, and then I can see that 30 add 50 makes 80. But I have an empty one here. So I've got 20 add something equals 50. I could use the inverse to help me here as well. I could do 50 take away 20, and both of those will give me the answer of 30. Okay, so I'd like you to have a go at the other two, remembering to add the bricks together to see if you can fill up all those missing ones. So pause and come back when you're ready for the answer. All right, let's have a look then. So down the bottom, we've got the whole row filled in. So we've got 5 add 2 equals 7. Then we've got 2 add 6, which is 8. And then 6 add 3 is 9, so that's my next row done. 8 add 9 makes 17, so that's already done. So I need to do 7 add 8, which gives me 15. Okay, then I'm going to add these two together. 15 add 17 gives me 32. Okay, let's have a look at our other one. 1 add 8 is 9. 8 add 5 is 13. 5 add 5 is 10, and then I can go up to my next line. So this one's done already. So 13 add 10 does make 23, so that's correct. 9 add 13 equals 22. Okay, and then over on this side, or at the top, sorry, I can then do 22 add 23, which gives me 55. So well done if you managed to fill out all of those. Right, over the next 2 weeks, we are going to be looking at measure. So we're going to be focusing on length and then moving on to perimeter. But for this week, we're going to really focus on making sure we can measure accurately and convert between the units of measure. So to make sure we're being successful, you need to be able to use a ruler or a tape measure correctly. You need to be able to measure accurately, and you need to be able to choose the appropriate unit of measure. So if I was going to measure my phone, okay, I wouldn't choose meters because it would take too many, okay, or it wouldn't fill up enough of it. I would do centimetres, okay. Whereas if I was going to measure the whole length of a room or the whole length of a flat or a house, you might use meters instead. Okay, so it's choosing the most appropriate. Let's have a think before we start about the equipment we could use to help us measure length. So pause the video. What equipment can you think of that we could use? All right, so there might, if we start with some more modern instruments, the most obvious one is a ruler. If you have a ruler at home, it would be really, really useful this week, okay, and into next week. If you don't have a ruler, you might have a tape measure, which would also be really useful. And then there's some other equipment that is used to measure length but isn't going to help us particularly this week, okay. There's other things like trundle wheels as well, but again, not overly useful unless we're measuring out the school field. So, but before this type of equipment was used, there was they used slightly different equipment. What do you think about using footsteps, rope, hands, or even arms to measure? Do you think it'd be very effective or very accurate if we were all measuring the same thing but using our own footsteps or our own arms to do it? Not very accurate, is it? Because my foot size is likely to be different to yours. So if I measured the length of the school field or the playground in my footsteps, my result would be different to yours, where you're likely to have smaller feet than me. So that's why we've moved to more consistent methods. If you are measuring a horse, they do actually still measure them in hands, but it is now a set unit of measure rather than just individual hands. Okay, so again, they've made it a bit more consistent. Okay, I would like you to have a go at answering these 3 questions. So which of the measurements describes length? Okay, so they all describe measure, but we're focusing on length. Match each length to the sensible estimate. Remember, an estimate is a sensible guess. And complete the statements below. Pause the video and have a go answering those. Okay, so let's have a look. So which of the measurements describes length? We've got 2 meters, 2 litres, 2 kilograms and 2 centimetres. So 2 meters, that does describe length. And so does 2 centimetres. So well done if you spotted both of those. So litres we use for liquid and kilograms is weight. Okay, let's have a look at our next one. Match the length to the sensible estimate. So a height of a giraffe, the size of a ladybird, and the length of your thumb. Okay, so this was in our success criteria at the beginning, thinking about which is the most appropriate unit of measure. So a giraffe is by far our tallest one out of the 3, so it needs the biggest unit of measure, 5 meters. Our ladybird is our smallest, so it needs the smallest unit of measure. And the thumb is kind of in the middle there, so we use centimetres. Okay, complete the statements. 1 metre is equal to how many centimetres? So how many centimetres in 1 metre? Well done if you said 100. And then 1 centimetre is equal to how many millimetres? Some of you may have on your ruler centimetres and millimetres, okay? So one goes up in ones and one goes up in tens. So if you've got one that goes up in tens, that is your millimetres, all right? Because there are 10 millimetres in 1 centimetre, and you can kind of see that on your ruler. Okay, Ted is trying to measure this brick, but he is finding it a bit tricky. So we need to help him out. Have a think, what tips could you give to Ted to make sure he is measuring that brick accurately? Let's see if any of your tips match my ones. So remember, you can pause it if you need to think of them a bit more. Okay, so make sure you're using the centimetre side of the ruler. So like I said, mine has millimetres on one side and centimetres on the other. Ted's one has inches on one side and centimetres on the other. So to start with, he needs to turn his round to the right side. Okay, next he needs to line up the edge of the item with the 0 on the ruler. So if you have a look at my ruler, okay, you can see that there is a gap before the first line. We don't start our measuring at the end of the ruler, we need to start it at that very first line and line it up carefully. Okay, so not at this very end, but lining it up. Okay, can you see that, how it's lined up? Then you need to look and see where the other edge of your item lines up with the ruler. Okay, so that one goes down there. So his brick is 5 centimetres because we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and it is important we are putting the unit of measure. Okay, because 5 centimetres is very different to 5 metres or 5 millimetres. So it is important you are using your unit of measure this week. Okay, so he wants to measure the height of the brick as well. So let's see if he can follow those same rules. So he's got to pick the right side, so centimetres, and then he's got to line it up correctly. Okay, going to the 0 at the bottom. Lining up the bottom and the top, and you can see that it is 2 centimetres tall because it goes from the 0 to the 2. Okay, and again, he's put the cm for centimetres. Okay, so Dora wants to draw a line that is 7 centimetres long. So if you have a ruler and a piece of paper at home, you might have a go at drawing a line that is 7 centimetres as well and see if you do it correctly. So she's got her pencil and her ruler and she's drawing her line from all the way along. So what do you think? Has she done okay? Let's check. So there's her line. So not quite. So this time she started at the 0, didn't she? And went up to the 7. Whereas this one, she started at the 1. Okay. So she didn't line it up with the 0. Okay, let's have a look at this one then. So Rosie is measuring the packet of crayons. So I want you to have a look, and can you tell me how big that packet of crayons is? Okay, so we start at 0 and we go down to the end. So she's lined it up correctly. And she's saying that the packet of crayons is 90 centimetres long. Is she correct? No, it's changed the unit of measure. So we're now into millimetres. Okay, so it's actually 90 millimetres. Okay, so again, I'm writing that unit of measure. So if we have a look at this ruler underneath, which is showing the centimetres, if we continue that line down, she could say it is 9 centimetres or 90 millimetres. Hopefully you can start to see a pattern, because remember there are 10 millimetres for every centimetre, so we can see a bit of a pattern going in there. It's just our 10 times table. Okay, so she's measuring one of the crayons on its own now. Have a look. How long is that crayon? This one's a bit trickier because it falls between two of the numbers. Okay, so we've got 0. And it's not quite on the 40 and it's not on the 50. So we need to make sure we're being really accurate here. And you'll notice, especially on the millimetres, there is lots of lines in between. So let's zoom in, okay? And we need to count the individual lines. So we've got 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45. So the pencil is 45 millimetres, because it does say so here, long. Okay, if she was doing it in centimetres, it would be 4 centimetres, okay, so cm, and 5 millimetres, okay. You might see it also written as 4.5, let's make my point a bit bigger there, centimetres, okay, so all of those are actually representing the same length. Okay, so I don't mind which way you're writing it unless the question is explicitly asking for it in millimetres or centimetres. Okay, true or false? This toy car is 125 millimetres long. Have a look. So we've got our lines in place to help us. Pause the video and have a think. True or false? And remember to try and convince me, prove that you're right. All right, let's have a look. So at the end, it does go down to here, so we could check 120, 121, 122, 123, 124, 125. But it hasn't started at 0, so that is false. But we said false, so we need to find the correct answer. Okay, so that it hasn't started at 0, it has started at a multiple of 10. So what we're going to do is just count on from there. So we're going to use this as our 0. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and then our 5 that we counted earlier, so 95. So it is 95 millimetres long. Extra point if you can write that as centimetres as well. We're not doing that today, but extra challenge for you. It would be 9 centimetres and 5 millimetres, okay, or 9.5 centimetres. Okay, have a look at these two. What do you notice? So pause the video. What do you notice? Okay, so the green bar, you may have noticed, is 5 centimetres. Even though they haven't put it at 0, you can still work it out, because we can have this as our 0, and then we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 centimetres. So knowing that, can you still work out how long the yellow bar is? Okay, so the orange, oh, I thought it was yellow, bar is 6 centimetres. So we use this as our 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So though it is better to start at the 0, sometimes you can still work it out anyway. Okay, so the orange bar is 1 centimetre longer than the green bar, and there is a gap of 3 centimetres between them. So from here So all the way across is 3 centimetres. Okay, so lots of information you can find just from looking at that picture. And the total length of both the bars added together, the 5 and the 6, is 11 centimetres. Okay, have a look at this one. How tall is Annie? Okay, look at the unit of measure. So it does say metres up here. Just the M on its own is metres. So how tall is she? So we've got 0 metres here, 1 metre here, and 2 up here. So how are we going to work it out? Remember, there are 100 centimetres in 1 metre. So there's 100 centimetres in this gap. Okay, from our start to our top. Let's zoom in on this bit. So we go up to there. Okay, so 1 metre is 100 centimetres. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we've got our 10 gaps or 9 lines in between, and taking us up to 10 with this one. Okay, so each of these lines is worth 10 centimetres. Okay, so we can check. So we've got 10, 20, 30. So she is 1 metre and 30 centimetres. You can also write it as 1.3 metres. That would be absolutely fine. Okay, so today you are going to be having a go at measuring some different things. Please make sure you are using the correct unit of measure. Look at your ruler carefully. Line up the edge with the 0, the edge of your item, and look to the other edge where it ends to work out your measurement. Okay, the unit of measure is really important, so even on the quizzes, if you haven't put the unit of measure, it will be marked as wrong. Okay, there's also one at the end, or that you can just have a go at measuring some different items as well, just to practice making sure that you can measure accurately. Okay, so enjoy your lesson, and I look forward to seeing your work.